Welcome to another round of Chitter Chatter. Today we're going to chit chat with author Ruchira Garg on her book Soda, Water, Lemon in My Mocktail. Well, this is a book that I think everyone should read, every girl should read, and every girl's folk should read. Well, you might ask me why, and I would rather say how about buying your copies and you letting me know why, because you will also have the same thing to say. And I have noted all your questions and I'm going to ask all of it to the author and also a few more that I've been wanting to ask. Also, it's weekend time. What are you reading this weekend? And how many books have you read till now? It's almost half a year down. Are you like halfway through your reading challenge? And if you haven't set your reading challenge, how about setting one right now? I am sending a request to Wonderbee and getting started with our chitter chatter. Yes. Shira, I've just sent you a request. Please do accept it and let's get started with our chitter chatter. I hope she gets a request super soon and we get started. Well, let me tell you, when I started reading this book, hey Ruchira, welcome to Chitter Chatter.
Hi Shweta, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
All right, I can somehow, my audio is now connected to the speaker, but it's fine. If you hear an echo, let me know.
Definitely. So firstly, congratulations on your book. And I was just telling people that every girl should read, that folks should read. So tell our viewers a little about your book.
For sure, my book Soda, Water, Lemon in My Mocktail is a fiction novel based on true events. It's inspired by some true stories, and I'm sure those who've read it have already shared that they can relate to it. They all have a mandira in their home, in their family somewhere. So this is inspired by true stories. I've been toying about it for quite some time, hearing the experiences of others, and I wanted to write about it. And finally, it came into being in the form of Mandira's story. I'm sure it kind of, everybody will be able to relate to some experience or the other. It's about a girl next door who's like us, aspiring to be successful in life, lead an independent life. And then she gets married and goes abroad in an ideal marriage, which her family finds, a groom that her family finds for her. And then things take a different turn for her in a foreign land. And how does she navigate her journey there and becomes what she's today is what Soda, Water, Lemon in My Mocktail is all about.
Well, we have Varsha 444 saying the cover picture is beautiful and I totally resonate with her. You know, your picture is so much fun that you really don't know you're getting into such a deep story. And even the story, the way it is, it's so deep, but it's just expressed so well that it doesn't feel heavy, which is a very rare thing usually. Right. So was it a conscious effort when you went into designing this cover, or what was the journey like getting this particular cover, like where you said, okay, this is the ideal cover for my book?
When I was creating the cover along with my publishers and we were looking at different designs, the intent of and how really the title came about was I wanted to start with something that someone curates, in terms of, through their experiences, but it eventually doesn't turn out exactly as one envisaged it to be. And that's why I started with the word mocktail. A lot of people have asked me, why did you not use cocktail? I said, cocktail typically just gives out the story, right? So mocktail is, she wanted to do something, she envisaged her life to be in a certain way, but that's not how it turned out to be. And that's where I started with the word mocktail and then looked at the ingredients, and that's how soda, water, lemon came in. And I'll tell you in a minute what all those three ingredients mean for me in this book. But when I looked at the cover, it had to have something to do with the final concoction that came out. And she had come out of those experiences. So she had to be on, she had been in the mocktail for quite some time and now she had overcome that situation. And that's what the cover had to denote to me. I wanted to make it a very interesting cover, a catchy cover for people to look at and be attracted to read. There are millions of books in the market, in fiction novels especially. And so, to get a reader to even look at the book and to read its description, the cover has to be attractive enough and then it has to be related to the topic. So that's how the cover came about being.
And I want to know, what do soda, water and lemon mean to you?
Well, for sure. So when we were looking at the ingredients of life, right, I think the reason why the book is divided into three phases and it talks about soda, water, and lemon is soda denotes a lot of preconceived notions that help us build our experiences, and we think that's the mantra of success, or we make these mental shortcuts, right? And it leads to an initial fizzle of excitement because we got our formula right, and so that's how our experiences fizzle upwards in terms of, oh wow, or rather they sizzle upwards. And then they fizzle out, when reality bites. So that's the experience of Soda, and that's exactly what happened to Mandira. Ideal marriage. She went into that situation, everything was great, there was nothing to complain about. So that was the Soda experience, and then things started fizzling out. Water denotes no shape of oneself. It kind of denotes what others, blending into what others want one to be, having no identity. And there is a phase of life that, a lot of married women go through when they are trying to adapt and adjust to situations, and they are trying to kind of just blend in with what society wants them to do. So that's water. They don't have a taste of their own. And then lemon indicates sweet and sour experiences that are extremely important to give life its true taste. And that's where I culminated the final phase with lemon. So that's how the title Soda, Water, Lemon in my mocktail came about being.
Kapil Verma 001 says, reviews are really promising. Will add to my Kindle today. Hope to have a good read over this weekend. All the best.
Lovely. Thank you, Kapil.
Also, we have a lot of these comments and reviews coming in, and I myself have reviewed the book, and for an artist, appreciation, knowing that what they've written, what they've created means a lot. When you read your reviews, what are the reviews that have stayed with you?
I think some of the words which have really stayed with me is, when one of the reviewers said that it ignites vicarious emotions in the reader. And that's exactly what, when you read through the life story of Mandira, I wanted readers to have different emotions, to relate to them. It's like watching somewhere their own life stories or someone they know and be able to empathize. So those kind of words really stayed with me. Many of the reviewers have said that it's a very gripping story. They started on the book and they've not left it till they completed it. So that's really been very, very heartening. It's very captivating. And so while I did not intend to write it in a thriller format, but life, we don't think of life as a thriller, but it ends up becoming one. And the one that really I like is when people say that this is something that they can completely relate to. A lot of people have said that, and the fact that it kind of brings closure in their minds in terms of the questions that as you read through it, there are a lot of things that comes in the mind of the readers, and it brings closure. So it feels complete, and that's the reason why many readers have complimented me that they haven't read a book for quite some time, but this is the first book they've picked up and they've read it end to end. So these are just the reviews that have really stayed on with me.
Like you said, a lot of people relate to, and even if one doesn't relate to the entire story, there are a lot of people who relate to a lot of things that are going on with Mandira. Because I think at some point, every girl is gone through some part of it, even if not entirely the same thing. And that's where you relate with Mandira and you have your own closures, because everyone is looking out for a closure. When did you decide to pen this story down as your first novel?
Well, while I'd been toying with it for quite some time, but in 2020, when the pandemic struck, and we were all thinking of, we had a little bit of time to rethink about new skills we wanted to build. I thought that this is the time when I should take my writing from blogging, which I've been doing for quite some time, to actually trying my hand at writing a book. It wasn't easy at all. Let me say that up front. So when I started writing, I had my own senses, my doubts, and there were phases when I couldn't, I got blocked, I couldn't write enough. So, but the pandemic did play a catalyst in making me get to writing this book, and you have it now in your hands.
And we all are enjoying the reading. While Kusha Gravisham says, already ordered my copy. Can't wait to receive it based on the reviews I've read, and lots of hearts. Also, Varsha says, basic name yet nice to know each has a specific meaning to it. And Harsh says that this is an amazing cover, and I'm sure the story is equally amazing. And at the same time, like you said, it's not an easy journey writing a story down. Like writing a blog and writing a book are completely different. No matter how good a writer you are as a blogger, it's a totally different medium altogether. So what was it like? What were the challenges that you faced while writing this book?
Oh, there were many, to start with. You just nailed it by saying writing a blog is different because you can just express yourself in a few hundred words, whereas here you have to say the same thing in 1,000 words and still make it all very interesting. So the first part of how do you create a visual in front of the reader is very challenging, right? Like, you have to go ahead and you have to create a scene. When they're reading it, they should imagine what's going on. I had the additional challenge of recreating a time period which many of the readers currently have not even lived through. So the story starts about 30 years back, and kind of it culminates at the present times. So I had to recreate a pre-internet time period. Many a times people would ask me like, "Oh, she could have just Googled this." Well, it didn't exist at that time. So I had to do a lot of research to just kind of recreate the time frame to understand what were the things, how expensive were things, why was she not able to do certain things the way we would today. I had to answer my own questions first as a reader as I thought through the story and then put it onto paper. So it was tough to kind of imagine a time which is not present and then make the reader and the character also evolve accordingly and come into the present times. The reader ends with, okay, Mandira is still here today and this is how Mandira must be. So that was challenging for me. A lot of research also had to be done with different experiences of people to not make them look overdone, over dramatic, but I didn't want to as I said, I wasn't creating a thriller, but I was creating a life experience that everybody can relate to. So I had to also make sure that I did not over dramatize it. So it took a lot to kind of, many iterations of the book to come into the final version that it is today. But I'm so glad I was finally able to present it to my readers.
Well, you've presented it and you've presented it really very, very well. So, guys who joined in the chatter later, Soda Water Lemon in My Mocktail is Ruchira's book that if you haven't read, order your copies online, buy your copies, read it, do review it, and do let us know how you liked it. Also, do let us know what part of Mandira did you connect to, what you resonated with. And also, Ruchira, when you're writing a story like this, especially, when we are ourselves Mandira at some point, or we've heard about Mandira and we're writing a story about Mandira.
Right.
There are many a times we are also judged. There are times people are like, oh, being a woman, you are making Mandira look like this, and all of those things. So, did you come across anything like that at some point?
Absolutely. I think that was something that was constantly playing on my mind that men should also be able to relate to it, right? It should not look like it's a very feminist story and only women should read it. And I'm actually enthralled that some of my reviewers are all men and who have said that they can relate to these stories because they can relate to the kind of experience. I didn't also just want to focus it on Mandira, but the fact that everyone goes through some of these kind of issues in their life, right? Be it compatibility in marriages or be it financial decisions being just given off to one person in the family, so they can also relate to it. I didn't want it to make it an activist kind of a novel. There are times when you look at her and many people would say like, why is Mandira dealing with all this? Because she is just a normal girl. She is not an activist. She is not somebody who decided to take on a crusade against the world. And that's how I want to make it relatable for all genres of readers.
So, well, we have Ajuna Arora sending you best wishes. She's like, best wishes, Ruchira. We have Ayan Mondal 25 sending you best wishes. RC09 sending you wishes too. TK Zeel saying you guys are doing great. Kunal Burade, Rumta, Pankaj, DJ Chahan, and Pamisha Paul. All of them sending you lots of hearts and wishes for your book,
Thank you so
Soda
much.
Water Lemon in My Mocktail. And I'm sure a lot of people here are going to buy the copies and read, and also going to let us know what they loved about the book.
Thank
Ruchira,
you
how
so much.
long did it take to you write the story?
Well, it took multiple iterations. I would say it took me a few months to get the flow in place when I got my heart into it. So there was a little inertia at the beginning where I wrote a few chapters and then I had my own writer's block. But then I kept coming back at it. So when I finally got into that mindset that I have to finish this book and I have to get it out, it took me a few months to get the entire flow. And then it took a lot of iterations to get it more reader friendly. So from the first iteration to what you have in your hands today, it would have gone through a lot of reviews, a lot of cards, a lot of ads, and a lot of different experiences which were molded in to make it more interesting. I tried to also bring in not just one person's story, but many other experiences and built parts of it that would be interesting to the readers to keep the flow enthralling. So it took me about, I would say, probably end to end. Maybe I gave it all of last year to get to where it is today, and that includes the time that was required in the editing and publishing phases as well.
Well, before I get on to our last segment of Chitter Chatter, which is a fun rapid fire round, let's have a selfie with our book.
Absolutely. There you go.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
are you ready for the last segment, which is a rapid fire, where we want to know more about you as a writer, as a reader, and all of it?
Absolutely, bring it on.
So, which is the book that you're currently reading?
Well, I just finished reading Ravi Venkatesan's book around, the purpose of my life, and I thought it was very interesting. If I read it a year before I wrote this book, it would have made writing the book very easy for me. So that's what I'm just about to finish.
What is your next read?
I'll probably go for a lighter fiction this time. So, and I'm going to go back into, I'm a big John Grisham, Jeffrey Archer fan. So I'm going to pick up one of those novels. I haven't read all there. So I'll go and just pick up one of the ones which I haven't read.
A book as a child that you really remember, or a series as a child that you really remember?
Well, there is one book which I read not as a child, but more during my college days, which has stayed with me and will continue to do so. It's Tuesdays with Maury. This is a book by Mitch Albom, and it talks about Professor Maury, who's, has a terminal illness and is kind of living his final days. And how he decides to not, like not have people come at his funeral and say things, but invites them every Tuesday to come and meet so that they can say things to him that they would have said at his funeral. And I thought it was a very powerful book in terms of making us realize how we don't say things to people when they are with us, and we think about it when we lose them. So that's a very powerful book and has stayed with me forever.
5 authors that if you had a chance to meet, you would love to meet.
Oh, they will all be the thrillers. John Grisham, Jeffrey Archer, Mitch Albom for sure. I would also like to meet Paulo Coelho. So to understand how does he write books like The Alchemist, I want to learn that writing style. And for sure our own homegrown Chetan Bhagat, because I think, he probably started a whole list of corporate professionals becoming authors. So just because of, how Three Idiots came into being, I would like to definitely meet him.
If there was one thing that you would want to re-edit about your book right now, what would it be?
I would probably add a little more at the beginning of Mandira's journey, and just see if I can maybe add another character in the initial years of her life.
What is soda, water, lemon in my mocktail in one word for you?
I would say it's a lifetime experience.
Ruchira Garg as a reader.
An avid reader, very quick reader, likes to read everything in one shot.
Ruchira Garg as a writer.
A very thoughtful leader, writer, writes to create something which an audience can envisage.
If Ruchira Garg had to be a librarian or a bookseller, what would she choose?
I think I'll be a librarian because
And
I'm
finally,
not sure I can do selling very well. I'm more of a recommending person.
what is your reading challenge for 2022?
Say that again.
What is your reading challenge for 2022?
Well, just having the time to finish off books in one shot. Many a times I take up books and then it takes a long time to read them just because of the many things I'm involved in.
Auto expert Ruchira Garg is a rock star. So proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Also, do you leave a book when it doesn't excite you, or you have to complete a book?
No, I do. I actually leave quite a lot of books when they don't excite me and that's why I think books should keep the readers engaged. At times, a lot of books just drag on, so I have left quite a few books.
Standalone or series?
Okay with both.
There's one series that you really enjoyed.
Well, Enid Blyton has always been my favorite, and when I was in school, I used to read a lot of their Santa Clara, Saint Clair's, sorry, series that I really enjoyed, and of course Hercule Poirot by Agatha Christie.
Kapil Verma 001 is saying writer's block is a cliche. Did you face it?
Of course I did. I mean, there was a time when I just couldn't bring myself to take the story further, and I would share that one of my good friends advised me at that time to change my environment and just go and spend some time somewhere out of my home and complete and the kind of places I go to. So I did something very different. I went to a place which was not my typical kind of place to stay, and that's where I actually wrote most of the chapters of Soda, Water, Lemon in my mocktail. So writer's block is true; it does happen.
And lastly, how's it being on Chitter Chatter with Shweta Rohira?
It's been lovely. Shweta is such a great person. I think not just on Chitter Chatter, but throughout the interaction, I learned so much from her. And she's a great person. I'm so glad all of you follow her. I'm an avid follower for sure.
Thanks, Ruchira, for being a part of this Chitter Chatter. Thank you for getting her story of Mandira out there, because that's a story that I think a lot of women need to read. And again, like I said, even their folks need to read. So thank you once again for writing this beautiful story, deep story. And thank you for being a part of Chitter Chatter. Best wishes for your book. And people, Soda Water Lemon, My Mocktail is a book that you have to read if you haven't read yet. And in case you've missed any part of the Chitter Chatter, it is live on IGTV, YouTube, and Spotify. So do tag your friends and do watch it. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me, Shweta, and thank you, readers, for joining us today. Thank you.